good to go. So thank you guys for being here. So what we usually do is like I'll let you each one of you like introduce yourself, the project, and if you already like answer some of the question I've prepared, I don't ask them, but yeah, I have like some question, and then the community can also ask some questions. So yeah, the stage is yours. Who wants to start?
I can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So yeah, my name is Cody, CEO and one of the co-founders of Freaks and Guilds here. And I've been, both myself and Miller, or Alex, we've both been security engineers, cybersecurity engineers for the past 3 or 4 years. So we have, a lot of background in cybersecurity and IT in general, in development. We worked in some software development companies
Yeah, I see
doing
Secure
automated
Set,
security.
Beeline,
Yep,
Levy.
yep. Yep, Levi, Ray, and Shoop. Yeah, so for Levi, Ray, and Shoop was actually pretty cool because we did development work for automating security checks and security configurations for some different government agencies. So that was really cool, and that really, gave us a lot of development experience and everything. And then back in August, we had been doing blockchain projects, mostly DeFi projects, all of last year. And back in August, we ended up making enough money to where we could quit our jobs and start Freaks and Guilds full time. And so we've been, working on this ever since end of August, early September. And, so we've come a long way, but, there's still a lot left to go. So that brings us here. I'll go ahead and let either Alex or Drogo.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as long as you enjoy the work, it doesn't feel like work anymore, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I work way more than I have ever in my entire life, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah,
I
that's
love what I
Yeah,
our
right.
goal.
It's a 24-hour job, but that doesn't feel like work at all.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go ahead next. I'm Mo Drogo. I'm the community manager of Freaks and Guilds. I'm one of the other co-founders, along with Cody and Alex. Have to excuse my voice, I'm a little sick. But yeah, so I had also, like Cody, similarly, back in September, I'd quit my job to start Freaks and Guilds. Like I said, I do the community management for the project. I had a marketing and sales background before I had gotten into Freaks and Guilds. And I'd been into crypto since about 2017.
I saw that you were sitting at the beginning as cars. At the very beginning.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I saw that you were like selling cars at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, back when I was younger.
Yeah.
That was the first gig.
And then
back in
you're
high
here.
school.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it really is.
Come a long way, Mo.
Sure have. As of you all.
Yeah, for sure.
And the last not the least, I think it's Miller.
Yeah, hey guys. So just to give you some quick context to the whole setup here, I'm the connection between Mo and Cody over here, Nazans and Drogo. Mo actually grew up about 100 yards away from my house, and we've been friends since we were about 14. And so when we were building this, Cody and I had lived in Colorado together. As you've seen my LinkedIn, you've seen that we worked at Beeline together. We worked at Levi, Ray, and Shoop. We used to get sniped or headhunted as a unit because we worked really well together. And in the cybersecurity field, it's very rare. And so we'd move around together. We went to school together, and we were working on separate DeFi projects together. And then we had split a house, him and his girlfriend and myself. We all just kind of threw down in a house, and because we were working remotely, we were like, let's just hang out. We got dogs. Our dog used to hang out, and we would just work all day. And that was all we did. And so, as Cody had mentioned with the DeFi projects we were doing, we'd saved up enough money to where we could quit and go full time. And during this time between me living in Colorado and then we wanted to relocate when our lease ended, Mo and I had actually began doing a retail arbitrage business. We were Amazon selling, just like in our spare time. I was still a full-time cybersecurity engineer. I'd wake up at like some weird, absurd time. Mo would be doing the same thing. We'd go to like Walmart and Target and acquire a bunch of goods and then sell them. And so, with that, me and Mo obviously have a long history, but I knew that he could very efficiently work at extended hours, overextend himself. And so he was the only person when I wanted to go to this venture with Cody that I said, I want you to come along with me. I believe in you. I think that we can build something really amazing with the work ethic, because he wasn't a developer.
I knew I would need him 24/7.
Yeah, but
exactly.
You knew the skill he had because you had worked and knew him for like forever.
Exactly. And so that's kind of how us three came together and started to build this off the rip. It's kind of just an intro of what we got going on here and how we ended up. And I'm sure you guys might have some questions, but I'll kind of just give you like a cool a bird's eye view of freaks and guilds here, so that you can kind of soak up what it is. Because one of the things that we get in feedback when we discuss our project is that sometimes it can be confusing or a little intimidating to try and understand the whole ecosystem. And so I'll just try and brush over. There's three main pillars that make up our ecosystem. We have the on-chain game, which mints this Friday, the 18th.
Yep.
And then we have our NFT world ecosystem. We have a few NFT worlds, and right now the one ecosystem is completely built out. It's a battle royale style game that you can go in and play right now. We were some of the early adopters of NFT worlds. We've been building with them for a long time. So we have great repertoire with the ArcDev and Temp Tranquil, so that's how we form that. And so on top of being able to earn world token while you play and through different playing mechanisms that you do, so it is a completely play-to-earn ecosystem there. You also earn world token when you stake your celestial keys. So I guess you could say 4 pillars if you count the celestial keys, but in terms of gameplay, there's 3 main ones. So there's the NFT worlds I just described, and I also dropped a tweet. If you guys are curious, you can look in the thread of the questions for this AMA. You can check out that tweet, and there's a little video walkthrough of like how to play the NFT world game, the server that you can actually throw into your Minecraft and get in there and play, and just kind of a walkthrough tutorial. As well as the on-chain game, I think I dropped a tweet in there that had just one snippet of the UI. I could drop more. I think we can do the preview now. I mean, the mint's coming up, people are going to see it, so I'd be comfortable with dropping a bunch of the screenshots from the on-chain game. And then also we have our .exe fully downloadable game, which is a 3D Unity-based .exe game. And with that regard, we have been working with Game Art Brain this whole time, which is those of you who know Gods Unchained. They did all the asset creation for Gods Unchained. Because we do have an in-house art team. We do have, like, everything we do is in-house.
Yep.
But when it comes to creating a 3D Unity game like that, you have to have contract help because art, you can't hire a big enough art team to create that many 3D art, that many 3D assets. And so those are the 3 games that we're building. And so and then also the Celestial Key. So the Celestial Key is like, we never wanted it to be an access pass because I don't love access passes for games that then promise stuff like 9 months out. Like Mavia, like that was one thing. Like I love their project. I just didn't like their model with the how it all worked out, the Mavia world, the Mavia land, what it was. And so that's why we built so many things that could allow people to earn and play
like directly
through the entire process. Exactly, immediately, right? And so with the Celestial Key right now, as you've seen, over the past 30 days, if you staked it after you minted it, there was a 5-day grace period, you started earning FBX. And so on the FBX token, we locked the transfers so that no one could just go out and try and buy it or do anything of requiring it except through staking it. And with our on-chain game mint on Friday, you accrued 40 FBX per day. And now, if you had staked however many you had, you get a free mint for this on-chain game. On top of that, you also stake when you stake your Celestial Key, you earn 2 things. You earn a daily yield of FBX and a daily yield of world token. And the world token does have some modifiers and multipliers based on the body type and the other attributes that you have for the Celestial Key. But the reason for this is, and why I consider the Celestial Key a pillar of our economy our ecosystem, is whenever we branch into something, we are always going to make it the easiest for the people who hold the Celestial Key. It's like our rock. So whenever we're going to launch, like the NFT worlds, we launch that, instead of having people have to go acquire a world token by some means, they simply hold the Celestial Key and then they start earning it and then they can use it and play with it.
Yeah, so directly from the start. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's just like a quick bird's eye view. There's a ton of detail that goes into all of that, but just kind of familiarize yourself with what Freaks and Guilds is and what we're building. It's not just one thing. Ether Orcs, the Defenders of Dogewood, Anonymous, those are amazing projects. We love a lot of them. We have some collaborations with all of them. But we're not just an on-chain gaming thing. And that's in no way to belittle on-chain gaming. It's just we love that. We built a game, and it's going to run in parallel with our other games. And the reason we do this is simply to try and touch every side of the NFT and crypto gaming space that we can and do it right.
Yeah, like a 360 vision of every aspect of the DeFi.
Exactly. And so we're always looking to collaborate and build more. And that's what we are, right? We love building. We want to build as much cool things for people to do stuff with as possible. So that's kind of where the inspiration for it comes from.
Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, I saw that you have like right now 3 species on the game. So fairies, trolls, and ogres. Like will they like be more in the future?
Yes, there will definitely be some more in the future. That's just what we're starting with.
Mm-hmm.
And, we haven't really gone into too much detail about what the specialties of the other freaks, the other species will be. But, we can guarantee you that there will be quite a few more. But, the whole idea is we wanted to start small, build
Yeah.
something that worked, and then we have all this other stuff in the pipeline, stuff we've been working on, stuff we've been thinking about, and features we want to add, but we don't want to release too much at once. We want to keep growing this thing.
Yeah, growing
Otherwise,
like quality work step by
yeah,
step.
exactly. Otherwise, and that's just how games work in general. But especially when you're talking about play to earn games, where it like sustainability is even more important. It's really good to have new features constantly being added and new stuff constantly being worked
Yeah, and
on.
having like a stable system rather than like everything at the same time but crash all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So
And like for the staking part, like do you need FBX first? Like how does it work exactly?
So for the staking you're talking about in the on-chain game?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need FBX first. So the people that have been staking their celestial keys have been earning FBX until now. And when we go and launch on Friday, or when the mint happens on Friday, they'll be able to use that FBX that they were able to that they earned through staking to actually mint a Gen 0 character. So by basically staking their celestial key, they get a free mint for the Gen 0s. And then, once the mint occurs, the portal is going to open up. Everyone can then bridge their assets over. And from there, we'll give everyone a little bit of time to bridge their assets over, but then they can immediately start hunting and using that to earn FBX. And in the beginning, there's not going to be any like requirements in terms of spending a certain amount of FBX to go hunting.
Yeah.
But this is just the first hunting grounds that we're doing. There will be more hunting grounds in the future with different requirements and different risk levels and things like that. And
Yeah, I
then,
saw
of
like
course,
there's
battling
3
as
zones
well.
right now. So you're
Right.
planning like the species and the freaks. Also for the battling one, you like have more in your bags, right? You're gonna add more and more in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just to give an example, with battling, the first iteration is going to be the FBX that is earned is just going to be generated. It's going to be minted, upon completion of a battle. And of course, that's only sustainable for so long. As soon as you get to the point where you've minted out all of your assets in the ecosystem, then the amount that you're rewarding, obviously, like things have to change in order to keep that sustainable, or the FBX is going to be, way too inflationary. And so these are all things that we've thought of as we've been developing and thinking about what the future looks like in terms of the different additions and the different features that we want to add. But there is going to be changes made to that to where it might not be necessarily where it's just generating or minting a bunch of FBX. There might be a requirement to spend FBX to go in, or there might be wagered battles. Of course, we have to kind of navigate some legal areas with gambling when it comes to wagered battles. But that as long as we
Because
can.
it's different in each country. Like for example, I'm from Belgium. Like all those risk and gambling games online, like a lot of regulation on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we'll definitely be navigating that, and we have a decent team of lawyers too. So assuming we can navigate that properly and do everything in accordance with the law, we definitely want to add some cool.
Yeah, and I would
aspects
just
to it
like to not underplay our lawyers. We pay them a lot. They're very good at what they do, and our entire project rides on them being very good at their job.
Yeah,
And
that's nice to hear.
and we navigate a very, I don't want to say dangerous, but it's a gray area, right?
Yeah.
With everything that we do. That's why one FBX equals one FBX. The team and all of those behind the team are never allowed to provide liquidity to it due to the decentralized nature of the crypto industry. There's ways that people can do this, but we cannot do that. It's because we live in America, and that are the rules here. And so there's a lot of different things that we have to ensure that we cover ourselves and our community to make sure we do this right, because I am familiar with a couple of projects that aren't doing these things, and I'm concerned about their sustainability because, in turn for their holders, if something happens where they get delisted or hit with certain regulations. It's
Yeah,
a very
like
dangerous field.
what happened in October with like the Diao turtles, they got listed on OpenSea.
Yep. Exactly. So yeah, we're very cognizant of it, and I just like to try and emphasize to people that we spend a lot of resources on making sure that we abide. And if you're in the Discord, you'll hear me say, anytime someone tries talking about something, 1FBX equals 1FBX, we can always spit that legal disclaimer out anytime I can. So
Yeah, that's nice.
just be concerned about it.
So I had this question. So worst case scenario, like imagine, like I read like in order of starting the hunting and the battling contracts, we need a full Gen 0 to be minted, but I said I don't know, like World War 3 hit the US and doesn't happen. Like how long are you willing to wait for it? Like what can happen if like the Gen 0 is not fully minted?
So we have, you can go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we had said we'll let our whitelist go, we'll let the public mint go, and if it doesn't sell out, then we will cap the supply of Gen Zeros so as to not negatively affect the ecosystem or the game.
Okay.
Because we don't, if the way the bridge works is we basically mint 10,000 on the layer 2 side. So when someone goes and bridges their freak or their celestial over to layer 2, then it takes in the parameters of that particular freak or celestial and then changes the traits on layer 2 of that particular token. And then so what happens is, let's say we mint 9,000 of them. Well, we'd let all those 9,000 people, all those 9,000 freaks or celestials bridge over, and then the 1,000 on the other side would essentially just remain locked into that contract. So they would never be used. We wouldn't be diluting the ecosystem because if we had a kind of a struggle with demand in order to get those first 10,000 minted out, then we don't want to introduce, or first 9,000, let's say, we don't want to introduce 1,000 more when that demand isn't quite there yet. So they'll basically be locked in that contract or just straight up burned. So that
Yeah, and just to give you guys like a kind of insight onto where and how we structured the selling of these, right? So if you have staked your FBX, then there will be a free mint, right? So we have allocated essentially 4,444 of the 10,000 to a free mint. Based on our calculations, there should be about 3,700 people that have accumulated enough FBX to do the FBX mint. And then on top of the whitelist, we've only done collaborations with other communities. We haven't done any collaborations with, not any collaborations. We haven't just given out whitelists willy-nilly. We've done a couple Twitter giveaways for about 5 whitelists each. The only other way that you're able to get a whitelist, aside from through a collaboration with the community for this one, was our quest tonight. We're actually launching the quest to whitelist, and if you've been in our Discord, maybe you've gotten to play the Ether Orcs quest when we collaborated with them, or some of the old quests that we did, where we built these custom text-based experiences that were very challenging. This one that's coming out today is extremely challenging, and this is the hardest one yet. But if you beat it, you're entered. You have to just paste your wallet ID and your Discord username into the bot, and it tracks it. And then we're going to randomly select people who completed it while it's open for a 24-hour period to then receive their whitelist as well. And so we really tried to make sure that we structured it to have a proper sellout, mainly for the sustainability of the game, right? While we are prepared in case that didn't happen, I just like to try and get some insight into that because people see 10,000, they're like, whoa. But of our 2,000 holders and 4,444 keys, everyone with a key is also whitelisted, and they will also have a free mint, or at least most of them. So just to get some insight there.
Yep. Okay. Very cool. Here I see a question from Secret Peter asking will you be going into MMORG or just classic stacking Battlefly style battling?
Yes, so the battle is it's going to be a turn-based. Wait, so are you referring to eventually when we actually launch the full desktop game? I guess would be my questions, or the on-chain game battling?
No, the desktop game. Yes, the desktop game.
Yeah, so the desktop game is going to be like a turn-based strategy game where you and your friends will join a guild, and it'll be like a 7-on-7 type of a battle. And like I said, so it'll be you and your friends all picking your moves and then going against the other opposing guild.
Right, and that's just one aspect, right? We still have the hunting for the desktop game, which initially it's going to be a little more simplified. You're going to go on essentially what they'd be like raids, right? You go and You go hunting in different biomes for resources, for new freaks, for different loot, and sometimes you're faced with enemies or with bosses and things like that. But as we progress, we do see that hunting aspect becoming more of like an MMORPG type experience where you go raiding with your buddies or your guild, things like that. So definitely that's in the future. It's quite a bit of ways in the future, but
hunting
what
would
was
be
that?
to start out. I was saying hunting would be a PvE to start out, but
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
future,
Okay, nice.
yes.
And the expanding races, that's the plan in the future. Secret Peter, we asked that already in the beginning.
Yeah, expanding races. We have actually some
No
other
problem.
characters already in the works.
Okay,
Matter of
perfect.
fact.
I saw also like something I saw like in the video. Who did this voice acting? Like great accent. Did you hire someone or was like someone on the team already?
Are you talking about for the trailer? Was it by chance?
The trailer, like the 2 minute and a
Yeah.
half video.
Yeah. So I had found someone to specifically to do the trailer, the voice actor for the trailer, because his voice is perfect.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Like a guy
Yeah.
from a tavern or something, like telling a story.
Yes, he literally looks like a Viking. He has the perfect voice. He's the perfect person for the role.
Nice. I had also a question. I think that was like for your art director Steven. Maybe you can have like an answer for it. So I saw you work like on Dungeon Punks, like the game on PS4, and like how did you approach the game design on this one? It's like the same for like a video game, or like you have to think about different aspect because it's blockchain.
So you're talking about Steve working for Dungeon Punks?
Yeah.
Is that
Okay,
like
what is the process and how do you approach like for this kind of game compared to like PS4 like classic video games?
So the actual artwork for the 3D assets really doesn't change a whole lot when you're talking about desktop application, blockchain games, specifically built in Unity. Really what changes is the backend system. And so, rather than having a back end where you have your gaming studio or whatever it is, you host all these servers to manage the back end and keep track of user accounts and who has what items and everything. Like you'll still have that to some extent, but a large portion of that back end is going to be the blockchain itself and the actual contracts that are being used to store the items, transfer the items, and keep track of everything. And so the assets, the 3D assets are relatively the same. For these blockchain games when you're talking about Unity. So it's not a huge concern, but whenever we're talking about like getting the the NFTs, the actual images that are being used for the NFTs themselves, it shouldn't change too much really. We'd just be using similar imagery from what would be on the game itself.
Okay.
Now when you get into on-chain gaming, that becomes a whole different story, which the on-chain games obviously are very limited in what the images can look like due to the restrictions of the blockchain itself. So totally different story with on-chain gaming.
All right, cool. In my end, I think I've asked all the question. We have Secret Peter asking again, what are your current critical tasks?
Current critical tasks?
Yeah.
So the
portal everyone over is probably like the biggest thing I've been thinking about. And so just to kind of give you guys some insight onto like the launch process. Once the Gen 0 is mint, Gen 0 is the only generation that you'll be minting on Ethereum. Everything else will be minting with FBX on layer 2. And so it's not a challenging task, but with anything, like when we even just did the staking of our celestial keys with the world token, and then that 5-day grace period that we did just to get everyone staked. There's a lot of people that might have never done Polygon, even just for staking. There's people that have never staked NFTs before. This was their first NFT. We do have a large community of holders, and so it is kind of, I like to think of it as a critical task just because I want to make sure that everyone that owns an on-chain game asset is utilizing it properly. Of course, if there's going to be flippers, that's fine, but I just want to make sure, there's no confusion to someone that is holding, that wants to participate, that is held back because they don't quite understand it. So that onboarding process and the portaling over and the understanding of holders to be able to play the game is probably the most critical task in my mind right now. And so, we're trying to recruit a solid army of YouTubers and some other influencers, mainly just to make people aware. Like, we're going to be coming out with some videos as well, but just to make people familiar with the ecosystem, how it all works. There's just so much to talk about. Like, I think, some of the best ways to do it is why I love doing AMAs like this, because then we can kind of sit here and break it down for a little bit. It's a little bit easier to digest. But for critical tasks on my side, that's the first thing that comes to mind. What about you guys?
I was going to say I do have someone working on a tutorial video for portaling over, so we'll be able to come out with that shortly before for the community to kind of just walk them through exactly what they'll have to do to bridge their assets.
Okay.
Yep. And then for me, I would just say that continuously upgrading the front end so the players have a quality user experience as they're playing this on-chain game. That's definitely my top priority. So
everything towards like the community. That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a huge part of it, especially with the user experience, right? I know, like, sometimes. Sorry if you can hear my dog going crazy in the background. But I know sometimes, like with some other on-chain gaming projects, like the game UI is really like nothing special. Like for an Anonymice, for example, they didn't even have a game UI to start with. Like the game UI they have was built by the community, which I think is awesome. I think that's really, really cool, especially when you see a community kind of rally up together and contribute. I think it's incredible. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to put out a certain level of quality. I would say that I feel like a lot of our community members have come to expect out of us, and we want to maintain that in every possible way, from the user experience to the art to the process itself. So I think that's really important for us, especially as we go into the next phase, which is going to be like the desktop game. We want them to understand, we want them to expect a certain level of quality as they go into that and say, okay, this has been great so far. The quality they've been putting out is amazing. So, we want that to carry on over too.
Quality and simplicity. That's
yeah, absolutely.
It's nice. And what are like some of the biggest issues you have encountered so far?
I'd say is the biggest issue when it comes to like general operations and like getting stuff done is like finding the right people for the jobs, like bringing the right people on. We've had a few different friends we've tried to bring on and kind of have them help out and trying to get them started in the industry. And it's hard to find people who want to do what we're doing or who are
committed. Find people that are dedicated, like
I think I always tell everyone else, like what I tell these guys and everyone, because I've had to fire everyone that we've had to fire personally. And so I like to take this one because you need to bleed for it to make this work.
Yeah.
And like literally, like we spend all of our time doing this. There was long months, 7 months, 8 months, I don't know how many it's been now, but where I did nothing else. I didn't go home for Christmas. I didn't spend holiday with my family. I don't really speak and I'm not saying you should do that. It's unhealthy and I don't recommend it. But sometimes that's what it takes to make it work. And we all did it. And that's why it worked. And so like to find people, like we don't do weekends. You know what I mean? Like
in this space there's no weekends, there's no holidays, there's no sleep.
You know what I mean? There's no time off. There's different time zones. It's grind as hard as you can and get some sleep in and get ready to grind back at it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I think trying to find people that fit that, it's a marathon and a sprint at the same time. I know you're going to say, Cody. That's a great one because it's exactly what it is. And so, trying to find people that fit that. I've had the best luck by surfing through Discords. And when it comes to hiring people and getting more people to work with, by becoming part of different communities and reaching out to people in those communities, because they're the only one that gets it.
Yep.
Because you can't go to a Web 2 solution to find a Web 3 badass. I know plenty of developers that I've worked with, and they're great, but they're not Web 3 developers because it's a different space. Or Web 3 marketing or Web 3 community building. It's just a whole different beast.
Yeah, there's like
so
no
yeah, that's a
books,
really
there's no
interesting
tutorial
aspect.
right now for those kind of things. Like we're all
Exactly.
experimenting at the same time
Yeah.
we're building. So
Yeah. And if someone tells you they have the answers, they're probably trying to take your
They're
money.
definitely trying to take your money.
that's true. Another question is like, have you thought about how to keep the game accessible? Like, for example, Red Party has become inaccessible like for the average player. So
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
it's funny you mentioned this because I don't want to speak too much to this, but one of our partners who owns a 500 player Axie guild approached us about this some time ago, specifically about the ability to separate the private key and the player.
okay.
So since we're on chain, we didn't want to implement a Web 2 solution because if you've seen, I think Axie and Mavia both do this, where you're going to use a Web 2 solution backend to have the ability to rent out and have other people play on your
Yep.
assets. And we didn't want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, it increases attack surface and vulnerability issues when it comes to that Web 2 solution and maintaining the updates. Because if you use Microsoft, you know there's a patch that comes out every month on Tuesday where tons of vulnerabilities get patched. So that
Day
happens.
zero.
So we don't. Yeah, and there's like millions of dollars that go in and out of these projects. We just simply aren't trying to have that be the case for us. So we want to maintain everything on chain, which is the second part. Which we're an on chain game, so let's keep the game on chain. And so we were actually exploring a mercenary program specifically for Celestials. So in terms of battling, you need a Celestial to battle.
Right.
So it would only make sense that those are probably going to be priced higher due to the like just of the market assumptions, right? Due to the scarcity of them and their specific utility for the ability to hunt, which is the highest yield of return when it comes to pools that you're allocating your assets into. And the ability to rent those out is exactly what we're trying to do. So we have to separate the private key from the player. And the way we do that is you create almost like an escrow service to where you deposit your FBX into.
Okay.
And it's similar to the NFT world staking contract. It's where we took a lot of the inspiration from. And this isn't done yet, and we're not going to implement this on Friday. This is something we're trying to work on to make sure it's perfect because as you've seen with NFT worlds and how long it took for them to put out their staking and renting contract, you really can't mess it up. So this is just something that I like to talk about because people always like to ask about this, and it's something we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it works is you deposit your FBX into a vault contract, and you can deposit assets into it. So let's say you put a Celestial in there and you deposit your FBX, and there's a way that you can set
basically
the
can
amount.
authorize. Yeah, you can authorize just same way you would do an allowance. Like when you say Uniswap can trade my tokens in my wallet for me. You set an allowance and you
Okay.
set an authorized user to do specific actions, and you can essentially give them you can list out what actions you are allowing them to do. So it's within your control. You have complete control. The contract is the one that's handling that in a non-custodial way. It's everything's zero trust, and it's a lot better than having the overhead of like a Web 2 solution with more potential for vulnerabilities and security risks.
Yeah, and so that's kind of just how it would play out. You would set a certain rate at which you want to rent your characters out for a daily rent and then a deposit in case they default on paying that rent, so that you don't have any risk on your side for renting them out.
Okay.
And that's pretty simple how it would function. They wouldn't have the ability to buy, sell, or trade them, the actual NFTs. They would really just be able to play with them. And as we introduce the loot shop, the different items, there's going to be a lot more complexity to the game, and so it's going to become very involved. So those that might see it as lucrative if they have a large amount of assets to rent some of them out will find the perfect market balance to where that's still beneficial and lucrative to them while they can play with their assets that they have time to play with. So, that's kind of our solution to that question that always arises. And I think we're working towards something really cool with it as well, because I haven't seen it done for on chain yet. And correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty excited for it.
Okay, nice. Risk management measured. Like, have you got any exploits so far? And
yeah, so in terms of the hunting contract, so this is the way that we're releasing it. We're aiming to have the hunting contract audited prior to the hunting launch. We are working with very closely. The one investor that we do have is very close to a smart contract auditing company. So we are hoping to have it done in the next 2 days to 3 days. We will see on that. If not, we will put a bug bounty up for it. And we're going to always maintain open bug bounties so that we can try and get ahead of the curve, because as security engineers, we know there's always new things that come out. There's always things that change.
Yeah, true.
And so, remaining dynamic. Like once we put it out, even if there's no vulnerabilities off the rip, things always change. There's always new things that can come up. And so remaining...
There's always someone like smarter or like
exactly.
trying to dig deeper.
Someone's going to be trying to break it. Yeah, there's smarter engineers than everyone. So there's it's never assume you're good. So there's always going to be consistent work on making sure that we are, boots on the ground with that, and we're always involved with it. And so,
I will say too that we've added some safety measures into the contracts as well, like emergency rescue functions and things like that, and like, pausing certain. Pausing like the hunting, like the staking, so we can, pause the hunting and allow people to rescue their, in the event. And I don't foresee this happening whatsoever. And of course, we're going to get it audited, but just, as like a safety net, we always try to include stuff like that, for that exact reason, because you just never know. Things pop up all the time. So, we'll be able to have everyone retrieve their assets in the event of something bad happening. And the way we've done it is it's actually going to be relatively easy to release more hunting grounds and like upgrade the contracts and things like that. So, we plan to be dynamic with this, is what I should say.
Okay, that's perfect. And what is like the expected longevity of the project, and what comes after? Like, where do you see, like classical interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Right.
Yeah. So
I
mean,
So after the on-chain game, like I said, we have been developing the desktop Freaks and Guilds game, which is the full-featured game, which is a Unity-based game, and like Nazans had mentioned before, that'll come out in a beta version, and we will be constantly updating that version as well. So like he said, like eventually we'll be moving into hopefully an MMO for the hunting version of it. So I would say that's the future goal, is developing the desktop game to its final form.
And I don't want to, I don't want the desktop game to kind of knock down the on-chain game. The on-chain game, we have lots in the pipeline for the on-chain game, for adding complexity with, adding playability, like some of the stuff we've already talked about, plus, a lot more things like enchantments for items and new battlegrounds and new hunting grounds and like land and its utility. There's a lot going on there that is going to be continued to develop, and get added onto it. And the desktop game isn't gonna, just completely wipe out the on-chain game. There will be some intermeshing between the two, and there will be some transitioning between the two, I would say. And because we want to keep this, like basically like an integrated universe, right? Like we have all these different branches of this gaming universe that we're building out. But we want there to be a certain level of interconnectedness between these, and just kind of have them all branching out in different directions, but still maintain their how they work together. And not only that, but one thing I like to really emphasize when it comes to where we see ourselves in the future is heavily integrated with other projects. NFT Worlds is just the first scenario of that. But we're constantly looking at other projects to see how we can integrate ourselves with them, because like I said, we are a gaming universe. We want to expand really into as much as we can, so every type of player has an opportunity to come and enjoy themselves and play and earn.
Nice. We also have the question, what play to earn project do you guys admire the most at the moment?
Ether Orcs.
Ether
Orcs all day. If you actually look at the analytics of the top yielding play to earn games, they sit at the top, and they sit there quietly. I'm amazed that they're not at a crazy valuation with everyone in the world trying to buy them up. And they just operate quietly. They were a free mint. Like their whole structure is just so well done. And I don't know, I listened to the AMA of those guys, and I know the other guys in this call did too. And they just, I love what Wrangler did, and they're just, they killed it. They're first movers, and they did some amazing stuff.
Okay.
And they keep going, which is what I kind of wanted to highlight with how we're going to continue developing. Like they're just not going to stop. They're going to keep building cool new stuff, and so
Yeah,
very
right. That's the
inspiring to
thing
watch
here in
people
the
place the
space,
trail.
like building and building and building.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
In order to keep yourself relevant and sustainable, you have to.
And we have a dirty question from Crypto King asking, like, looking at the Twitter, it's a small following. How are you gonna market the project, create a bigger following, aka create the hype?
Yeah, of course. I think the hype will be easier to come once our game launches for the on-chain game, and then we'll have a little bit more fuel to the fire with two things. One, we haven't pushed our NFT world almost at all yet, which is crazy because it's a fully ready to go play to earn game that's live right now. Two, the on-chain game launch. Once that happens, there'll be a full game that people can play that's on-chain, as well as having the NFT world be live and ready. And then three, we're going to start promoting the full desktop game, which is very exciting to the eye, which is really easy to create hype behind. Since it's a 3D based game, the gameplay trailer that we have working on should be out soon. Like, there's a lot. You know what I mean? It's much easier to market something with such interesting aesthetics while also having a proven history of being able to deliver with the Celestial Key mint, the on-chain game, the NFT. Like, we'll have a very strong past and history while also having something really fun and aesthetically pleasing to look at. Like, so if you look at Pixelmon, they never had anything to show for it, but they had some really cool trailers to show.
Yeah.
And so that was very easy to create hype. But with us, I imagine, also we have the marketing funds to do this, right? Because we do have one investor that backs us, as well as the revenue that we bring in from our existing products. It's going to go into proper marketing. And so we haven't been as high on creating mass hype for everything up till now. After we have the on-chain game playable, the NFT world, we're going to start marketing that as well. And then we have the game to play trailer to come out, and the trailers for the 3D asset game. It's going to be a lot easier to push that. And that's when we're going to be more open to pushing it. Because right now it's been pretty much heads down, building, work.
Yep.
Make something really cool for people to play with. And then you can sell that, sell the hell out of it and make everyone see it and show it to everyone.
And our big thing, I know Miller talked about this a little bit in the beginning, is with the access passes. We didn't want to sell promises, and we still kind of live by that, because the whole idea, especially in this space, like you kind of under promise and over deliver, right? Otherwise, you start building FUD, and
true.
we didn't want to sell promises, so we kind of focused on delivering and like building and making sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and getting everything done correctly and on time, and then once we've, like Alex or Miller said, once we've made that name for ourselves, that's when we can say, okay, look, like, here's what we've done, here's what we're going to do. You can see our track record now. You can see our our vision, our goal, and it's just going to be it's a lot easier to sell that idea than it is to promise something way early on and hope that or have your
that's
community
true.
hope that everything gets delivered. So
Also.
Yeah, and so we just kind of turning to the marketing budget as well. We thought it would be the most efficient to not spend a lot of that marketing budget before we had something to lean on in terms of what we've already built. We thought the conversion rate would be much higher if in that marketing it was able to walk around with a big stick saying, we've done a lot of building already. Like, we've done a ton of building. Look at this.
Yeah,
and
you're
now we're
coming
doing
with
this.
proof, and like, yeah, we can do this now. We can hype it. Okay.
That's kind of been our strategy all along. Like, we had been working on the project for about, 6 months or so before we even had our Celestial Key launch. So we've always been more build first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you're gonna success.
Yeah. And also too, with we didn't want to get like too much hype. Like, if you were in our Discord from the very beginning, you would see that we were relatively slow moving in the very beginning because we weren't trying to blow ourselves up and build a hype, especially with on-chain gaming or just crypto gaming in general. Like, if you bring in a bunch of flippers and you market to the wrong crowd, and it's just the people that get into hype projects and buy in and flip, get their whitelist, buy in, let it 2x and then flip.
Yeah.
That's not good for an on-chain gaming economy or just a general blockchain gaming economy. Like that, that will ruin a gaming project very fast. And so we focus really on growing like a solid foundation, a solid community, and not just like this one and done hype pump and dump project, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we've built, like we said, you know, we'll have the means to keep expanding that committed community, but in more of like a, you know, an accelerated, hyped up fashion.
Nice. Here we have, are there any consideration for player rewards to play beyond staking? Example, increasing the on-chain rarity for consistency, because not everyone is going to win every battle.
Wait, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, are there any consideration for players rewards for play beyond staking? Increasing the on-chain rarity for consistency.
So there will be, I mean, there will be increased rarity. You know, when the loot shop gets implemented, that will essentially increase the rarity of your freak or of your celestial, because that's not a separate like NFT that you're getting. That's actually on the token itself. That attribute is being changed on the token itself. So that'll increase the rarity and affect playability, and you know, allow people to introduce more of a strategy. The other thing that I don't think we've mentioned that we're doing is our spirit companions. So the celestial keys, if you have a female and an amulet, or a female and then a male with an amulet, you can summon one of these spirit companions that will have different effects on the gameplay. So for like hunting and battling, you know, you'll have these companions that you can then play with or you can stake with, and they'll do things like protect you from, you know, being burnt, or from one of your freaks being stolen, or keep you from getting taxed whenever you're hunting, things like that. So, you know, there's that, and that'll be probably what's implemented next after, you know, battling and hunting get launched.
All right, perfect. Like, guys, if we have any other question, I think it's gonna be the last one, because we almost hit the 1 hour AMA. Time flies, and I think you got some other stuff to do. You told me in the DMs, but my end, I don't have any other questions. Or if someone wants to come up on stage and ask directly, you can also ask to just to come.
Always love getting questions from the audience.
Cool. Yeah. Just as a heads up, we do have another AMA actually on Twitter, Twitter Space with Bad Baby Dinos, strictly about NFT worlds and World Token and that whole ecosystem at 7:30 Eastern, about 38 minutes. So yeah, if you guys are interested in hearing more about that specifically, feel free to tune in.
All right, perfect. Yeah, Crypto King said, be careful what you wish for, like with our audience coming to the stage, because we're all like Yakuza and some dirty questions. All right, guys, thank you for being here and like asking all the questions and presenting the project. And so thank you for the whitelist opportunities you gave us. And we're looking forward to collab with you in the future.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us. It's always a great time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.